What's going on, everybody? We are back with Master Crafted, and we're doing another episode of Mind Over Meta, where we talk about what is winning in 4K this week. Phil, what's the consensus? What is winning right now, buddy?
Well, who would have guessed? Death Guard is still pretty good, and the Death Shroud Terminator fix didn't actually fix anything. It is still a dominant codex and a dominant meta. It has every tool that you could ever ask for. Virulent is still the dominant detachment with 13 X and O's and 4 event wins, which is an obnoxious number. Mortarian's Hammer is right behind them with 4 X and O, X and 1s, and 1 event win. My detachment that I've been running only has a 48% win rate, no X and O, X and 1s, and no event wins. So overall, Death Guard has been dominant. But Lane and I were talking before the show, that is 18 X and O, X and 1s. But the top of the X and O, X and 1s is pretty packed right now, I would say. Like, we have quite a few armies that are in the double digits for X and O, X and 1s. Death Guard obviously being number 1. Sneaky Necrons next up with 13 X and O and X and 1s. So, make sure you shout it from the rooftop. Maybe put a comment in John's channel. Just underneath it, be like, hey, John, I heard Necrons are pretty good now. They definitely needed it. T-Suns are next with the brand new detachment. Lane, we got a game of that this weekend. 12 X and O, X and 1s. And World Leaders rounding out that double digits of 11 X and O, X and 1s. So that is 4 armies with double-digit X and O, X and 1s.
Yeah, they are putting up some stats for their factions. And one of the ones, we haven't really had a chance to, talk about World Eaters, right? Like, they haven't actually had a super, super strong weekend, I feel like, since the Codex. This was a great weekend, and Khorne Demonkin were 6 of those 11. And I think people are finally starting to figure out how to run that. It's a very high-skilled army, and it's showing. 6 X and O, X and 1s is respectable, to say the least. There's a ton of new stuff that has just been doing super well in the meta. Obviously, let's just tune some of this all back down. Just a little bit, maybe. But yeah, super exciting. Death Guard had not only the 18 X and O, X and 1s, but 5 event wins, but just running away with it. They did way better than anybody else. T-Suns got 2, Imperial Knights got 2, and then everybody else was lucky to get 1. The only other people that got them were Tyranids, Necrons, Otan, Emperor's Children, Chaos Space Marines, and Astra Militarum are the only other factions that picked up a single win this weekend. So yeah, very top heavy on what was winning and what was getting X and O, X and 1s. So super interesting to really see what's hopped all the way up to the top of the meta. And
well, I will say, Lane, that Astra Militarum event win, do you know what detachment that was?
Yes, it was freaking Recon, and it was nothing but bodies. Nothing but bodies, yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. But I will not be running that anytime soon. Nope, not for me. Me and you are both firm believers of anti-horde. We do not believe that is a fun way to play the game. And I don't know if that man had fun playing it that way or if any of his opponents had fun playing against it. But, you're picking up models. That's for sure. Yeah, he got the win. Okay, yeah. Whew, super exciting stuff, though. Why don't we go ahead? We've talked enough about Death Guard the past few weeks. Let's maybe talk about the Suns list, I think, or... yeah, let's just do the Suns.
Alrighty. So, Mike Museni, the Rubicon Grand Tournament, he took a list named No Magnus for Grand Coven, which is what you played this weekend against me. Lane, why don't you just run us down? You're the faction expert for T-Suns. Tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, all right. So, starting off with Ahriman, he's got the nice 3-unit redeploy. Okay shooting and stuff. You're mainly just taking them for a little bit of the shenanigans and the extra +1 to your casting. The Demon Prince with wings. It does have the Eldritch Vortex. I haven't played with that yet. I really want to and really see it on the table. I do think that's actually something I'm going to probably favor over Infernals. Infernals are just way overcosted compared to how good Sorcerers are. So Infernals are probably just dropping out of most lists, and we'll see if that trend is something he's on. An Exalted Sorcerer on disc to have the Incendium, which is the second Doombolt cast. A Sorcerer with Umbrellic Crystal to do a once per game up-down, as well as 2 other Sorcerers. As I was saying, no Infernals in this list. He is purely just taking the very good, cheap Sorcerer bodies to throw on those rubrics. After that, he has 1, 2, 3, I think just 3. Yep, not 4. Rubrics, all with warp flamers. And yeah, just throwing those onto the sorcerers, most likely. 2 of them probably going into that rhino. When you hop out, you can give yourself +1 to hit and wound. Coming out of there, it's going to do some good damage. 2 predator annihilators to have full hit rolls and full damage re-rolls against monsters and vehicles that have been targeted by a psyker. Very good. I found you need to run those in tandem most of the time just to have like the consistency. 1 unit of Chaos Spawn, good for just early trading. 2 Mutalith Vortex Beasts, that'll give you +1 when you're casting and supercharging it, or channeling. A unit of 2 Sekitar Robots. And everybody's favorite is just the Enlightened with the Fate Caster Great Bows. I mean, these things are in everything, so 3x3 on those, not a big surprise there. And lastly, a unit of Zangors with the Blades. I have gone back and forth myself on whether the blades or the auto pistols and chain swords are really worth it. You can at least get some like re-rolls into some trash with shooting phase trying to get into there, but I mean, they're just strength 5 versus strength 4 in melee with the blades, so must have been the better option for him. Yeah, super interesting. It's got a lot of good pieces to cast with. I've been trying out the Brick of 6 for the Fate Caster Goats, and I think it's decent. I think it might just be, I mean, it's only 30 points for a few more of them for 6 instead of 3. It's done decently. It's done decently well. It's nice to just have a couple extra wounds for your Exalted Sorcerer who has Lone Up to just zip around, and in case his casts go wrong, you can just be like, take it, I don't care. Yeah, there's a lot of lethality in T-Suns. It is just, I'm still working on it myself, trying to learn how to properly apply it and how to take certain targets out and what to use to do so. I know I learned a lot from our game, Phil. Looking at this list, would you be a little bit more concerned with your Death Guard, or are you just playing Death Guard? So, you don't care. You can handle anything right now.
This list concerns me a lot more than the list that you ran previously this weekend, mainly because of those Predators, which I think apply a lot of better, longer range shooting, which I think is super good. Mutalith Vortex Beasts are still fantastic. I do like the little bit of Chaos Spawn, just because they do have that scout move, which is nice. They're 5 points cheaper than a unit of Zangors. They have smaller profile. They're solid. I like them a lot, and I like this list a lot. I think if I were to like make a list for somebody to play T-Suns, this is pretty close to what I would offer, because Sekitar Robots with their Infiltrate, they're super tough. They're going to be on an objective. They have the Flamers, right? They're going to be a problem. And if you put out anything significant to trade into them, then the Predators and the Vortex Beasts and even a unit of Rubric Marines comes out and just deletes whatever comes out. So I do like how well this list, I feel like, trades. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I do think, I don't know, originally I wanted to try out the Annihilators. I had a game with them and they just, I mean, I couldn't hit anything with them. They did nothing all game for me, but I'll probably throw them back in, give them a try. I do think having the long range will definitely help add some pressure and be able to deal with hard targets without having to give up, a whole unit of rubrics to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, super interesting. Yeah, I think I agree. I think it's a very solid starting point list. And Magnus is not needed, obviously. So that is a plus. I think he's still viable. You can play with him. He just takes up a lot of points.
Absolutely. No, I think this list is going to be close to what we see for a lot of Grand Coven. Not to say that Magnus can't find his way in there, but geez, do I like tools? And this army has a lot of tools, right? So it's good. All right, which one do you want to go over next?
I mean, let's hit up those Necrons. I feel like I remember somebody talking about how they didn't really need any buffs. And I feel like their results this weekend may have showed that may or may not have been true, but I'm leaning towards probably true. I just can't remember who was talking about that. It just escapes
he's
me.
got like a weird mustache. He plays like Imperial Agents, some trash faction. I can't even remember.
Yeah. Huh. What a loser. But Anyway, why don't you run us through this one, and we can kind of talk about how some of those recent point changes maybe helped secure a dub.
Yeah, so this is Awakened Dynasty with the name Horsing Around. We got some Catans back. Cetans, Catans, whatever you want to call them. First one is the Nightbringer. And then you got Luminaire Caesaris, Emotech, the Stormlord, Silent King. It's pretty good, I've seen. A Scorpec Lord, and a Technomancer. So that is 6 characters, a little obnoxious there. 2 units of Crypto Thralls, a unit of Flayed Ones, a unit of Scorpec Destroyers, a 5-man of Triarch Praetorians, a 6-man of Wraiths, 1 Reanimator, and a Doomsday Arc. So that is 1995 of pretty much every good character that you could take in Necrons, as well as our newly cheapened 6-man of Wraiths, with obviously the attached character to make them incredibly tough, the Reanimator, and the abilities themselves just to bring back more and more. A little unit of Scorpec Destroyers for some early shooting trading, and then your Crypto Thralls and Flayed Ones for what are some very good scoring units.
Yeah, that's some crap to deal with right there. I'm just trying to make sure I remember what all it applies to, because I don't know if there's any restrictions. But Awakened Dynasty has the 1 CP, or it might be 2 CP. 1 CP. Yeah, 1 CP, any phase, 1 Necrons infantry character that was just destroyed can stand up. All right, I was a little worried there. I don't think, is the Nightbringer infantry? I really don't think so. It better be a monster, because if it's not, that's disgusting. But even then, Illuminor Xeris is hard enough to freaking kill. He's got, like, Lone Up, he's got a 4-up Invuln, he's got a 5-up Feel No Pain. Like, he's just terrible to chew through. And then you just stand him back up and say, why don't you do that again? And then every time you just kill these now super cheap Wraiths in the shooting phase. You just kill 1. And then as long as that Reanimator is remotely near them like it should be, it's just 2d3 wounds back. And then you go into the fight phase and you peel off 1 or 2 more. And then it just comes back again. It's just such a pain in the ass to deal with those Wraiths in this list, and you have to deal with them all while a Catan and the Silent King are just getting shoved up the midboard, and it just none of it really feels that great. You have to commit to it to fully kill it, but it does not feel good, because even the Silent King, right? You kill a model, you kill one of his Menhirs, and you're just like, oh, let me just regen right quick and get one of those back. No biggie. Would hate for you to lose, a lot of efficiency there. Yeah. I do not really. I mean, I'd feel okay playing against this list, but I don't want to deal with it. Nobody wants to deal with this shit. Yeah, gross. Welcome back, Necrons. You deserved it, apparently.
Yeah, they're in a better spot now for sure. No one will deny that. Overall, it's definitely I think what we're gonna see. Awakened Dynasty is very, very good. Wraiths just got cheaper. If you have a buddy that plays Necrons, or you're going to a major tournament, I wouldn't be surprised. I was looking at the stats for this weekend for me, for the tournament down in Austin. I can pull it up here real quick because I think it's definitely interesting. There are 4 Necron players, 1 playing Awakened, the other 3 playing Star Shatters. So overall, definitely we're gonna see it rise, especially in some of these bigger tournaments. So be prepared to overkill some Necrons.
Yeah. Gross. Yeah, that is a chunky list. That is for sure. Okay.
Well, we're moving on to Leagues of Otan next, Elaine, because they also got a little bit of a glow up, just with how their units work inside of transports. So now they've definitely gotten a little bit more freedom in terms of what they can put in there and what characters they can attach. And they've seen an increase in player base as well as getting event wins. So Leagues of Otan running Oathbound, obviously, running an Iron Master with the Grim Demeanor enhancement, a 10-man of Hearthkin warriors, another 10-man of Hearthkin, one 6-man of Thunderkin, two 5-mans of Berserks, the Jaegers, which I think are pretty much, you have to have in there because that is your only infiltrate and it protects your scouts from all your vehicles. A 3-man of Pioneers, a 6 of Pioneers, and another 3, which if you've never played into them, they put out an obnoxious amount of shots that can pick up a lot of things. So they're pretty frustrating to play into, and you got to be very careful because they do have a redeploy, which can be used really effectively. 1 HLF, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sagittars. It is the Sagittar Swarm for sure. Tom Green ran it and ran it to some pretty significant success. So overall, this list does all the things that you want it to do. It scores incredibly well. It has a whole bunch of Sagittars for all of these Hearthkin warriors that you split into 5-man. So 4 of them would be 5-mans, all getting their own transport, which is really, really nice. And Iron Master obviously goes with your Thunderkin, and the Berserks are either in HLF or maybe they start in reserve, but I doubt it. But yes, this list is very solid. It puts out an incredible amount of damage, even with those Sagittars. It's just so good.
Yeah, I mean, really, just looking at it, I mean, it's a ton of MSU in transports that is all going to trade very, very well. It is going to play that game extremely solid. It has plenty of high OC to just go, contest objectives, lots of things to do, any actions you need. You get what is the new secondary? Show of force. If this list cannot get display of might, that's what it is. If this list did not get display of might every single time it was drawn, I would be very surprised. I feel like, if they're either able to delete enough things to do so, or just, they just have so many units. Like, you just inherently get those points. And that's great. Yeah, very solid. It's nice to start seeing some Thunderkin and Broke here a little easier now that those ECOGs aren't taking up all the room in the transports. It's gonna actually make sense to take them because you can fit them in with something else now into those Sagittars if it's got the room.
Yep, seems really solid, Lane. But we're gonna move on to our last list. I am the most excited for this one because it's a new detachment, and I love talking about new detachments, and I love seeing them do well. So this is over in Germany, Subterranean Assault. And we've talked at length with Frankie and our other local Tyranid individuals, and I've been super hyped on this detachment. I really like it. But let's run through it. Lane, why don't you tell us about these subway nids and what they're doing?
Yeah. So I think the list name is pending approval or Subterranean Assault. Very, very creative. Either way, a Hive Tyrant with the Tremor Senses enhancement, as well as a Trigon for the Trigon Prime. That is just an auto take every time you play this. You just have to take the Trigon with the Prime enhancement. There's no other way. Termagants, a unit of Biovores, 2 Exocrine, 3 Lictors, a Moloch, a Norn Emissary, a Psychophage, a Trigon, and then 2 Tyrannofexes with the Rupture Cannons. So, yeah, I mean, good. I'm actually a little surprised at the lack of Raveners in this list. We talked quite a bit about that with Frankie, that being a very common thing, and just, none. Not a single one.
Maybe he doesn't need it.
Must not. All right. Well, who doesn't love extra flexibility,
That's true. The other thing that stood out to me is no Zoanthropes in here, because I expected to at least see 1 unit with the character, because them coming out of a hole seems pretty strong in terms of the amount of shots they put out with sustained and no recover. So I was really surprised to see that. Second Trigon, so a base Trigon. Now they're good. I'm surprised to see 2. The Tyrannofexes are probably pretty solid, especially with reroll hit rolls of 1, and the Exocrines as well. So it's like, man, I'm picturing like on a turn, you have a blip out there, and a Tyrannofex and an Exocrine show up paired up, and they just delete whatever they want. Or you do double Exocrine or double Tyrannofex. I don't know what double Tyrannofex doesn't kill, but it's going into a lot of things. The triple Lictor is really nice because it allows to screen out a lot of things. That way, you're not getting hemmed in for your blips initially off turn one, which is nice because they do have fights first. They're a little tough. They have loan up. They're great. And then normal emissaries, they're just so solid. It doesn't matter what detachment you put them in, but you give them reroll hit rolls of 1, and then they just sit on an objective, and they're OC 15, and they got a 3 up, 4 up, 5 up. Like, it takes some real removal.
Yeah.
And even then, you might not do it.
It's honestly like Crusher Light. It's just like mobile Crusher Light almost. It's got a couple more utility pieces, I would say, than normal Crusher, but it's not far off, really. So that is very, very interesting. I would actually love to, I don't think they had anybody streaming that weekend, but I would actually really like to see how this list was played at some point. I think that's some pretty cool tech. Not really what we thought the initial, way to go with what this was, and maybe we were totally wrong. We're gonna have to get Frankie on the line, say, what is this bullshit you're selling us? They didn't take any. No, I'm just kidding. It really does just seem like a very solid detachment, and I think if you have a vision for how you want to abuse those strats, you can make anything work, and they definitely made this work for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely stood out to me. I love seeing them, like, their first weekend out, really do well, and I strongly believe that they will continue to do well. They are a skill cap army, which I appreciate more than anything. I like armies that ask you to play 40k in a meaningful way, that aren't necessarily one-dimensional. So yeah, Subterranean Nids are going to be good. I think they will continue to be played, but it's going to take a very high level player. Not very high. I think your majority of players can do well with it. It just takes reps, really, because you're doing something that you're not used to, especially NIDS players. This is not something very common, or even just 40k in general. Being able to, the way some of these units enter and leave blips, you are staging these things multiple turns ahead of time to make sure that you can still use them and do them. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm very curious to see where things kind of balance out in the next few weeks. Knights are coming quick. They are going to be hitting the meta real soon. And it has kind of seemed like a little bit of an MSU type of meta up until this point. So throwing very good Chaos Knight, big detachments in there at the same time, I think is going to be very interesting to see what actually rises all the way to the top and what can deal with both of those things the most effectively.
Yeah, for sure.
But all right, any other thoughts for this week, Phil? You're going down to Austin, gonna go do some GTing, hopefully bring home some hardware. Anything you're excited for while you go?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going down and seeing the community down there, because I've heard nothing but good things. I do like the fact that there's a wide player base of armies, so I'm looking forward to that. There's even an Imperial Agents player there, so in combination with Drakari and Eldari, there's even some people running Tau and GSC. Almost every faction is represented, which I like to see in a tournament. I don't want to see just the same few armies run over and over again. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to going down with some of our buddies to go down there and play. So yeah, I'm excited. I've practiced a lot, so I'm looking forward to having hopefully 6 good games, and I can't wait.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, best of luck this weekend. We will all be rooting for you from up here in the north as you go down to Texas, and can't wait to hear just how well it goes for you. But until then, don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody. Please comment and share everything you can just to help the channel. And last but not least, do not forget that victory is a given. It is forged, and it's forged right here on Mastercrafted. See you.